Hi and welcome to Kate Made It, my brand new YouTube channel where I will be sharing crochet tutorials, all sorts of crafty crochet yarn related content. Today for my first ever tutorial we are going to be making the Happy Sun Mandala with you. This pattern is available free on my blog and I also have a PDF printable pattern available as well. So happy making. I hope you enjoy creating this mandala with me. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe to my new channel and come along on the journey with me while I create crochet tutorials for you. Okay, so for this tutorial of the Happy Sun Mandala, we're going to be using the Lion Brand Heartland yarn, which is a size 4 or in Australian terms probably about a 10 ply yarn, and the colour I've got here is Capitol Reef. Now the ball band does call for a 5.5 millimeter hook, but I'm going to use a 5. Let's get started. Okay, so for this pattern we are going to be starting with a magic circle. There are a few different ways to do this, but this is the way I have taught myself and how I always do it. I drape the yarn over the hook and then I bring it around and back up. Okay, that's my magic circle. I think a lot of people do it differently. I've never seen anyone do it the same way I do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with 3 chains, which will count for our first double crochet. Then we're going to double crochet another 11 into the magic ring as our beginning round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And we're going to pull our tail to close in that circle, and then we're going to slip stitch to the top of our beginning chains to close off our first round. Then we have round 1. Now round 2 we start with a chain 1 and we're going to complete a single crochet and a chain 2 in each stitch around. So single crochet, chain 2, and we do that in every stitch around. Okay, so it's our last single crochet, 2 more chains, and then we slip stitch into our first single crochet. Okay, now for round 3, we will slip stitch into our first chain 2 space. Then we will complete 2 chains, which counts as the first half of our double crochet, our 2 double crochet cluster, and then we'll complete our second double crochet, which that's going to count as our first double crochet, 2 double crochet cluster. Then we'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to complete a 2 double crochet cluster, oops, in the next, and then another 3 chains and a 2 double crochet cluster, and then repeat that around. Okay, so we're back at the start of round 3, so we'll slip stitch into our beginning cluster, and that's round 3. So round 4, we are going to complete 2 single crochets, a chain 1 and 2 single crochets in each of our chain 3 spaces. So we'll start with a chain 1, 2 single crochets, a chain 1 and 2 runaway yarn, 2 single crochets. So 1, 2, a chain 1 space and 2. Going to complete that in each space around. 2 single crochet, chain 1, 2 single crochet. It gives a little bit of structure to those spaces. Okay, then we're going to slip stitch back into our first single crochet of the round, and that completes round 4. Now for round 5, we are going to start in our chain 1 space up here. So we're going to slip stitch across the second single crochet and into the chain 1 space at the top of the little point. And we're going to chain 3, which will count as our first treble crochet. And then we are going to treble crochet into the next chain 1 space. And then chain 5. And then treble crochet back into the same space. So we're creating a little V shape there with a nice big chain space. So into the next chain space, we skip the 4 single crochets, work into the next chain space, a treble crochet, chain 5, and a treble back into the same space. And repeat that around and meet you back at the start of the round. Okay, now as we have come to the end of our row, we've got all our V's around the outside, but we've only completed the first half of the first V. So we'll complete a final treble crochet back into where we started our beginning chain, and then a chain 5 to close that over, and slip stitch back into the top of that chain and treble crochet. So there we have row 5. Okay, now for row 6, we're going to start completing our first round of petals. So we are going to start with a chain 1 and a single crochet into our second treble here. So how each of the pairs, we will be single crocheting into the middle of the 2 of them. Then we're going to single crochet into our chain 5 space, then half double crochet, then a double crochet, and then 2 treble crochets, which really gives us the height of the petal, and then a chain 2, and then 2 treble crochets, and we work our way back down the other side of the petal. That's 2 treble crochets, a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Then we single crochet into our treble crochet below, and we have 1 petal. So we will repeat that in each of the chain 5 spaces from the previous row. So we've got a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, a treble crochet, and a second treble crochet. Then we chain 2, 2 treble crochets, a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Single crochet in the treble crochet, and then into the next petal. Okay, so we're on our last petal now. Nice and repetitive petals, these ones. And we slip stitch back to our starting single crochet. Okay, so at this point you do have a very cute little petal flower. You could always fasten your yarn off here and just make a little coaster doily, mini one. But otherwise we'll continue on for round 7. I'm going to pause my recording though and go hang up my washing. Okay, so for round 7 we are going to be beginning in the top chain here. So you can either cut your yarn at this point and then reattach it in the point, or if you're a little bit lazy like me, we just slip stitch up the side of this one petal. Some people don't like the look of it because it does look a little bit different. But I don't find it too glaringly obvious. So we'll just do that. So what we will be doing now is a single crochet in our chain 2 space. And then we will be chaining 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And a single crochet in our next chain 2 space. Okay, so we are just creating a circle around our petals. So I'll meet you back at the start. Okay, and then as we're back to the start, we slip stitch back into our first single crochet. Okay, now for our next round, we will be starting with a chain 2, which will count as our first half double crochet. Then we will work 9 half double crochets into this chain space. Now you could always work them into each of the chains, given you have the same number of stitches and chains. It does create a nice pretty look along the bottom, but that's also a personal choice. So 9 half double crochets into our chain space. Ooh, a bit rusty. Come on, fingers. I was not counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a half double crochet into our single crochet from the previous row, and then we repeat that 9 half double crochets and 1 into the single crochet around. Five. Oh, I hate splitty yarn. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I can count. Okay, then we slip stitch back to our starting chain 2. Now at this point, don't stress if you're finding your edges aren't flat or if they're a bit wobbly. That will flatten out when we block the piece at the end. So we'll pin it down and we'll steam it or wet block it depending on the fibre you've got. This is acrylic. I will probably steam this just to help set those stitches and really set the piece. Okay, so we're up to round 9 now, and we are going to be working. We start with a chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet, and then a chain 3, skip 2, repeat. So we will skip 1, 2, and we will work a single crochet. Chain 3, skip 2, work a single crochet. Hope that's clear. 1, 2, 3, skip 1 and 2, and work in the third. Okay. Alright, so repeat that all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the start. Okay, so now we're back at the start, 1, 2, and we slip stitch back into our first single crochet. Okay, and that is round 8 done. Okay, sorry, that was round 9 done. Oh, I'm doing well. Okay, now we're going to slip stitch into our first chain space, and we're going to be creating 2 double crochet clusters. So we start that by doing 2 chains and then a double crochet. That counts as our first cluster. Then we will chain 3 and 2 double crochet cluster in our next chain 3 space. Chain 3, 2 double crochet cluster. So we are just repeating that in every chain 3 space, back around to the start. Okay, now we are back at the start, so we will slip stitch into our first cluster to finish off round 10. Okay, so if you can see, we are repeating our beginning pattern for a second round of petals. So our next round, round 11, we will be working 2 single crochets and a chain 1 and 2 single crochets. And then straight into the next space, 2 single crochets, a chain 1 and 2 single crochets. Nice and simple. We will repeat that in each space back around to the start. Okay, so that's our last chain space, and then we'll slip stitch back into our first single crochet, and there we have round 11. Okay, so we have 2 rounds left, And if you look back, we have another round of the V treble crochets to create our spaces for our petals, and another round of the petals, and then that's our mandala done. Mandala, however you want to say it. Row 12 will look similar to our treble crochets and our chain spaces from earlier, but it will be slightly different for row 12, round 12. So we will chain 3. These treble crochets are going to be treble crochet 2 together, and we're going to have a small gap and a large gap alternating in between them. So we will do our first half of the treble crochet 2 together, and then our second half of the treble crochet 2 together. Then we will have a chain 3. Okay, and our next treble crochet 2 together will be using the same chain space. We'll go through our first 2, but we'll keep our last loop on the hook. Wrap your yarn twice and into the next chain space. Okay, so we've got our 2 treble crochets together. Then we will have a chain 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which will be our large gap for our petals, and we will do another treble crochet 2 together. That's the first one. And that's the second one. Okay, so we've got our first treble crochet together with a chain 3 space, our second treble crochet together, a chain 6 space, and then another treble, and we will repeat the chain 3, chain 6, so alternating the small and the large spaces. So another treble crochet 2 together in our chain 1 spaces. Okay, and a chain 6, 6, and another treble crochet 2 together in the same stitch, and then the next chain 1 space. Okay, then we chain 3, treble crochet 2 together, 1, 2, chain 6, okay, back into the same space, sorry, and into your next chain 1 space. Okay, so you can see how we've got our chain 3 spaces and our chain 6 spaces alternating. So chain 3, and we repeat that pattern around. Okay, so now that we are back at the beginning of the row, we've got just a couple of stitches to go. Now, if you remember, we started with a chain 3 space, and we've just completed a chain 3 space. So we need a chain 6 space in the middle there. So we're going to work our treble crochet 2 together using the last stitch and the first stitch. Spaces, sorry, not stitches. And then we will chain 6. 6, and slip stitch into our beginning treble crochet 2 together. So that is our row 11. So we have one final row to go, and that is our petal row, which will be a little bit more tricky, but we will walk through it slowly together. Okay, so for round 13, We will start by slip stitching into our first chain 3 space, and we'll chain 1, and then we will single crochet into that same space. Next, we will be working a double crochet 2 together, and we will be working that in between the legs of this treble crochet 2 together here. That will be the first half, and the second half will go into our chain 6 space. Okay, so you see we've got our first half into our in between the 2 legs, and then our second one into our chain 6 space. Okay, then we will work 2 double crochet, 1, 2 double crochet, then we will work 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's the first half of our petal. And chain 2 for the top. Oh, sorry if you can hear my dog snoring. He's sitting in the sun and loving life. And then we are going to work back down the other side of the petal. So we will do 3 treble crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then we will work 2 double crochets. 1, 2. So this was all into our chain 6 space. Okay, so there's our petal. Now we need to work our double crochet 2 together. Whoopsies. Which will be positioned in the chain 6 space and in between the legs of the treble crochet 2 together below, just like this side. So double crochet 2 together. There's the first leg in the chain 6 space and the second leg in between the legs of the treble crochet 2 together below. Okay, then we will single crochet into our chain 3 space, and that is 1 petal. So that is the stitch repeat, which will be repeated all the way around. So we'll start with the double crochet 2 together in between the legs, then into the chain 6 space, first one, second one. Oh, Mugsy, you snorer. Now that's his tail wagging on the floor. So then we work 2 double crochets, and now 3 treble crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, and then down the other side, 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 2 doubles, and our double crochet 2 together in the space and in between the legs. Then single crochet into our chain 3 space. So you see how your petals are sitting over your chain 6 spaces, and you are just single crocheting into your chain 3 spaces. So I hope that helps, and we'll work that all the way around. Double crochet 2 together, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3 treble crochets. Chain 2, 1, 2, and 3 treble crochets, 2 double crochets, I might have to lock my dog out of where I'm filming from now on. He's very noisy. Okay. So there we go, 3 petals. We'll continue working them around and I'll meet you back at the start. Now you'll please have to let me know how I've gone with my first ever crochet tutorial. If you've got any tips or hints or things that help you when you're following a crochet tutorial, I would love to hear it. Just leave me a comment and that will help me with making my next one. Also, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and maybe even hit that subscribe and help me really do this thing. One more. Okay, so there we have the slip stitch back to our final. We're about back to our starting stitch. And we are done. Let's grab our scissors. And our needle. And we're going to sew our ends in. And there we have our Happy Sun Mandala. I hope you've enjoyed making yours.